Dear folks, a vital update. October 8, 2020 by Anna von Reitz. Some people don't like the analogy of our actual government, of the people, for the people, and by the people, being an extended family. They don't want to be related to the poor, the sick, the old, the unfashionable, unknown, unwashed masses. I don't have a problem with taking a stand with all the Walmart shoppers, despite the unfounded accusation that I am a royal and an elitist. If I were a royal or an elitist, I would sit back in a nice comfy chair and let the world go to hell like the rest of the royals did. I certainly would not dare to beard the Pope in his lair and sue him for breach of trust, because my world and my monarchy would depend on the Pope's good graces. I would not thereafter spend 7 years of my life giving due process to the Pope's employees and nearly 30 years exposing fraud, unlawful conversion, and personation crimes being practiced against Americans. I would not bother to learn law and history and spend untold thousands of hours tracking down rare books and going cross-eyed reading documents hand-written in French 2 centuries ago. Come to think about it, this is not what an average mother with a family to support would do, so maybe I am a bit different, after all. Still, there is absolutely no doubt that I am an American and my parents were Americans before me, and on both sides of my family, I have ancestors who were here before the Revolution. I care about this country and its government and its people precisely because we aren't homogeneous. We aren't a monarchy. We aren't tied to the filthy cesspool of European politics and law. Yet, upon making certain observations, it became undeniable that those same European practices and forms of foreign law have usurped upon us and have entrenched themselves in our country with the same terrible impacts here as in Europe and other places around the world. The same endless wars. The same abuse of average people. The same wasteful spending. Finding out, precisely, how this came to be, and how we can get out of the spider's web, has been my life's work. What I and those working with me discovered is nothing less than astonishing. In general terms, we and many other peoples around the world have been entrapped in a system of legalized enslavement, promoted by a practice of corporate enfranchisement and a phony monetary system. I call this system of government, corporate feudalism, a feudal system of government that replaces living monarchs with corporations that are even worse, because they are not alive and are not individually accountable. This system took root during the reign of Queen Victoria in England and was birthed and championed by her Prime Minister, Benjamin Disraeli. Here in America, much the same blueprint was followed. People signed up to vote, thinking that they were being given a greater voice in their government, and instead, they were being seized upon as chattel backing the debts of commercial corporations in the business of providing governmental services. Along with this secretive, because it was already illegal back then, press ganging and unlawful conversion of private assets, came a system of proxy government and fiat money based on commercial credit. This was basically a systematic abuse of promissory notes and usury in gross violation of public law and public trust. Our own lawful and peaceful government of the people, for the people, and by the people was shoved aside, held in abeyance, presumed to be an interregnum, and left to gather dust on a shelf for a century and a half, while 2 foreign governmental services subcontractors, one British and territorial, the other papist and municipal, have carried on a series of illegal and unlawful mercenary wars on our shores, all without our knowledge or permission as their employers. This was made possible by taking out a substantial portion of the government that we are supposed to have operating this country. Both our Confederation formed under the Articles of Confederation, and the American subcontractor that is supposed to be operating the Federal Republic portion of the federal government, were rendered inoperable by the American Civil War and never reconstructed. We, as school children, were fed lies by omission and led to believe that the reconstruction happened a long time ago, so of course we never realized that this was crucial work that we needed to do as adults. The European federal subcontractors, both British and Papist, brought their foreign laws and forms of government ashore using the excuse of this continuing emergency, and insinuated themselves as an emergency substitute government, which has openly colluded against the American states and people and our best interests since 1937 when they quietly published the Declaration of Interdependence of the Governments in the United States. Thanks to the work of thousands of Americans over the course of 16 decades, all this rot has finally come to the surface and been exposed. Mr. Trump wants to re-establish the American federal subcontractor, known as the Federal Republic and also known as the States of America, operating under the 1787 Constitution known as the Constitution for the United States of America. This is a worthy and necessary goal if we are to function as an independent nation again, but neither Mr. Trump nor his constitutional advisors have known how to accomplish this feat and have up until now assumed that they could just put together an American-owned corporation and go to town. If it were that simple, it would have been done long, long ago. To have a true American corporation to act in this capacity, it has to be chartered under the American government of the American states and people. It has to stand under our public law, not the law of any foreign nation. Failing this, we have only a repeat of the same old scenario of foreign law and foreign influence commandeering our assets and substituting, for our actual government, even if Americans are in charge of that corporation. The reconstruction necessary is a 6-step process, and it can only be accomplished by me and you, regular old Americans, who declare and reclaim our stolen and misrepresented political birthright as American state nationals and American state citizens. Having declared our political status as individuals, we are then ready to assemble our properly populated state assemblies and exercise our constitutionally protected right to do so. This has already been accomplished. Go to https://theamericanstatesassembly.net/ to see how you can help. As a second housekeeping step to bring forward all our states and people, those states that were enrolled as members of our unincorporated Federation of States doing business as the United States of America prior to the Civil War, have been polled by roll call vote and have acknowledged and accepted and enrolled the states formed during and after the Civil War as full states and members of the Union and the Federation. This ends a century and a half of custodial interest by the British territorial government and their state-of-state organizations. The next step is the collapse of the state land trusts that these interlopers established as a means to control our property interests and convey titles and land descriptions upon our assets. As the purported donors of these assets into these trusts, the states have the unabridged right to end this arrangement and receive back their own assets, and the United States of America has the unabridged right to claim all United States patents, which it has done. The fourth step is to reconstruct the American states of states which were the lawful members of the Confederation formed under the Articles of Confederation. The State Assembly of New York organizes the State of New York, for example, as an instrumentality to conduct routine business functions for it and to manage public property interests belonging to New York. This business organization then participates in the reconstructed Confederation. The fifth step is for the Confederation to reconstruct the States of America, also known as the Federal Republic, which the Confederation oversees and operates on behalf of the states and the United States of America. This is the missing American subcontractor and our portion of the federal government which Mr. Trump wishes to restore. The sixth step is for the States of America to resume operations under the Constitution for the United States of America 1787. All of this can take place in a rapid and orderly and peaceful fashion with your assistance and financial support, and it is the only way that we can restore our actual intended government without 1. Recreating the same old problems of foreign law and foreign custodial interests for ourselves, or 2. Losing chain of custody and continuity of government, of the actual government, treaties, and contracts, including the constitutions, that we are owed. It is therefore necessary to do it this way, to do it with alacrity and determination, and to restore our lawful government in all its respects as quickly and peacefully as possible. There are a lot of just awakened people running around like chickens with their heads off, alarmed and confused, and not knowing what to do or how to do it. This is not in fact an emergency. It is a process. We need to engage it intelligently and knowledgeably, and without fear. Each state assembly is fully empowered to control the operations of the foreign state-of-state organizations and maintain the peace with their cooperation. Each state assembly has the right and power to enforce the constitutions, via their lawfully elected county sheriffs, and their state assembly militias. Via their membership organizations, the United States, known as the Union, which controls the mutual soil jurisdiction, and our unincorporated federation, the United States of America, which controls the mutually held international and global powers. The state assemblies are more than competent to speak to all questions related to trade, monetary policy, and service delivery, including the settlement of government pensions and debts. This is actually and factually the way our American government is set up and the way it is supposed to work. The fact that it has been functioning on 4 cylinders for 160 years in no way changes or obliterates its sovereignty, its power, or its state immunity. The only elements necessary to succeed in this peaceful and lawful conversion of our government back to its full operation and glory are 1. Public awareness, and 2. Your participation. We have no true enemies but ourselves and our own ignorance. Please stay completely clear of all patriot organizations that are not firmly grounded and aware of these facts and processes. It is completely safe to join your own actual state assembly, not a district-based assembly which is for our territorial employees, and not a municipal assembly which is for our municipal employees, and to bear arms as a member of your state assembly militia. It is not safe to join any organization aiming at the overthrow of the general government that is currently in place by any means of violent insurrection or actions taken against officers of the territorial and municipal corporations. Remember, these people, both territorial and municipal workers, are your employees. It is your place to properly direct and organize your employees, and the means to do this is already provided to you, simply by joining your state assembly and doing your own homework. Also, it is not safe to claim that you have constitutional rights or guarantees until you properly declare and record your political status as an American state national or American state citizen. Many Americans assume that they have constitutional guarantees intact, but their political status has been obscured and brought into question by the birth certification process, and until they declare and record their birthright political status as Americans, it is not assumed that they are Americans. Think about that. The constitutions are well and fine, but your individual access to their precious guarantees has been undermined and papered over by foreign registrations entered in your name when you were just a baby. This is because your own government was not fully functional, and that opened up the opportunity for foreign governments to claim that you were abandoned and one of theirs, a supposition which must be firmly rebutted on the public record. Lucky for you, some of us were awake and on the move 30 years ago, so that now as you awaken to this situation, the processes you need to declare your political status and your state assemblies are already present and hard at work. Go to https://theamericanstatesassembly.net/ to connect to the peaceful, lawful, and correct solution. Weigh in and help finish the long-delayed reconstruction of your government. I am up to my neck in responsibilities and educational efforts related to all the above, as well as suffering numerous personal adversities, including medical emergencies among our staff members. This means that I don't have even the small amount of time I normally have to write thank you notes, give advice to individuals, answer phone calls, and do interviews. I am sorry. I shall be harder pressed than ever for some time to come, yet I will be in close contact with the state coordinators, and through them and through your state assemblies you will be kept posted and up to date. I will make every effort to keep up with our Monday evening conferences. God bless our country and everyone in it. Your participation in your state assemblies is needed and requested, as is your support via volunteering of skills, materials, and funds. Donations are gratefully received via PayPal at avanavon@gmail.com and via postal service addressed to Anna Maria Riesinger, in care of Box 520,994, Big Lake, Alaska, 99652. I want you all to know what is going on, what needs to be done, and to be assured that despite the substantial challenges, we are continuing to gain ground. Modern state credentials are now being produced and mailed out to help state assembly members properly identify themselves as Americans. And our own blockchain land recording system (LRS) is up and functioning. Numerous publications and instructional materials are being made available. You can access these important materials and services through your own state assembly. In my belief, we are a family of vast potential, a family formed of many races, religions, and cultures, a family called Americans. It is that which has made our country strong and resilient in the face of many terrible challenges, and it is our willingness to join together as Americans that keeps it safe for everyone.